So, are you ready for some advice? Well, how do you know if the person giving you the advice is the right one that you should be listening to? Stay tuned. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And I saw an article that I thought was very interesting and thought I'd put myself in your place to say, is this a guy that's worth listening to? Is this a guy that's worth getting advice from? The name of the article was 5 Ways to Know a Person's Advice is Worth Your Time. It was written by a gentleman named Michael Thompson, who I've read before, whom I like as an author. So I want to get right to it. I'm going to give you stuff from his article, and I'm going to tell you my story so that we can become closer. Fair enough? Okay. Taking the time to think about who we should listen to and learn from for advice, also known as the teachers we choose to surround ourselves with, may be the most pressing question of our times. Advice is being thrown at us from all directions. And this is the author speaking, of course, when my kids are of age to go online, when they're 73, hopefully advice, information, and opinions will be better filtered. Until then, below are the 3 types of experts that exist in the world today, along with 2 other initial thoughts I consider when trying to determine whose online advice is worth the time. So let's do it. Number 1, they've done what you want to do. I'm starting with the basics for the simple reason basics are important. It's easy to play coach with someone else's life. This is especially true online. If you don't have any skin in the game, it's easy to talk big. But before buying into what someone writes or advises, learn their backstory if it's not abundantly clear from the start. You'd hopefully never take advice from a stranger who told you how to live your life without first learning how they live their life. You'd want specifics. Before even considering following their lead, you'd want to know their experience doing what you want to do. There are some caveats, and we'll get into these soon. But in general, if the person giving advice around a topic consistently says, you need to, over I did, without stating their expertise or why for sharing the advice, you should tread carefully. Always keep in mind, however, the world is full of successful people, and not all of them were meant to be your teacher. Doing something for yourself and breaking things down and adapting the steps for other people to reach their own goals are 2 very different skill sets. All right, let's stop there. Let me tell you a little bit about me. All right. One of the things that I try and do with this particular channel is I'm a mentor for my son Eli. And I've been in the position, and I've told my story before, but I'm just kind of summing it up here. I've been in the position before where I was a young man, I graduated from school, I needed to get started, I was meandering around town, I was being distracted by all the little things, wasn't particularly focused, and how I got my focus when my dad yelled at me and called me a bum, and picked myself up and had a focus and had a complete 180-degree shift in my attitude and what I was doing, and no longer was focusing on my friends all the time, the friends that were not moving me forward, but started focusing on the people that were going to contribute to helping me to advance, to move forward, to learn. Also talking about how to learn. You know, I told a story about how I learned to be a salesperson because I had a 45 to an hour drive every day, and I was listening to tapes in my, we had cassette tapes back then, but you can listen to the internet or CDs or whatever now, but I listened to these tapes over and over and over and over again, and I turned quantity time, driving time, into quality time. I learned how to be a salesperson by listening to and learning how to close as a salesperson by listening to the best. I found the best person. Tom Hopkins at that time was considered the #1 salesperson in the world, and he had a series of tapes. I used to listen to these, and I listened to them so many times, made the trip over the Santa Cruz Mountains, that 50-minute trip back and forth, going and coming every day, that I became Tom Hopkins, just the same way as you learn how to sing along with the song on the radio because you've heard it over and over and over again. That's a way to learn. So take your negatives, okay, a long driving time, and turn it into a positive. So the point I'm making is, yeah, if you're still starting out, I've been where you've been, and I've taken it to the next level. So I'm telling you, these are the things I did. And you know what? As I say all the time, foundations always remain the same. Objectives remain the same. Just how you go about doing them. Instead of listening to cassette tapes, you listen to CDs, you listen on the internet. As an example, the technology changes, but the objectives remain the same. So these are important things. All right, let's go to number 2. This is the author again. They have a track record as a solid teacher. Once again, how do you know if the person you're listening to is worthwhile? They have a track record as a solid teacher. Now, some people are great at what they do. Others are good or even average at what they do, but they seriously excel when coaching or teaching. What's the reputation of the advice giver? Do they have any credentials and testimonials? Have they helped other people move from point A to point B? You know, a few years ago, I asked this is the author once again. A few years back, I asked a successful writer for help on an article. Without even looking at it, he said it'd be easier if he just did it himself. Now, this was a glaring sign that he's not the teacher for me. If you have to dig to find someone's teaching experience or come up empty-handed, be careful how much weight you give to their words. This doesn't mean you can't share your learnings and experience, but if you aren't there yet, own the role of the student to share what you're learning before positioning yourself too early as the go-to expert. When done right, the curious learner type can be just as, if not more attractive than, the seasoned pro. People love those who fight to learn more about what they don't yet know. Okay, let's talk about teaching background. Now, first of all, I started this channel because I kind of felt it was a perfect storm of things coming together. Here I was, you know, I'm at the end of my career, active career, and I've done a lot of things. First of all, I was a school teacher. I was a basketball coach. And I was somebody that was developing other people to become managers. I was a sales trainer, someone that developed people in management. I kind of put all of those things together. That was my career. That's what I did. I developed people from scratch. I myself was somebody that evolved from scratch. I answered an ad, a blind ad in the newspaper for a management trainee position, walked in knowing virtually nothing about management, and walked out of there as somebody developing other people who successfully promoted somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 different people into management. Now, that may not sound like very much over a long career, but if you stop and think about it, you have to devote some serious time to individuals in order to get them from point A to point B to point C to point D to point M, which is management, to put them in that position. That takes time, that takes effort. So there were several people that I promoted, that I developed from scratch, that had answered a blind ad just like I had, and put them in that position. And once again, having been a successful basketball coach, having been someone that was a teacher for a number of years, all of these different skills have helped me to help other people. So my point is, if you're looking for someone to listen to, these are the types of things, these are the types of traits, these are the types of attributes, this is the type of resume that you should be looking for in the person that you want to choose as your mentor. Okay, next time we get together, we're going to go over the rest of this article, who you should be looking for to be taking advice from, and for me to show you, yeah, these are things I've already done. All right, so next time we get together, be ready for that. And until that time, don't ration the passion, fashion the passion. I'm Eli's dad.